green is negative 200, 220, 240, 260.
Fahrenheit.
Correct.
Yep.
Right.
Wow.
So
I didn't realize it was that cold, actually.
It was insane.
and you're in there for 3
And that's green.
Right.
That's All right, well, welcome everyone to Here for the Health of It podcast. We are Columbia's hottest and still fastest growing podcast. We're posting stuff on Instagram. You guys are seeing us everywhere. We got some behind the scenes stuff. We got a new look. And then we have a special guest today. We have John Hooks, who's the owner of Icebox Cryotherapy. It's in Forest Acres, 4609 Forest Drive. Pretty brand new to the Columbia area. We tried it out last week, actually. And he's going to tell us all about it, what made him want to open it, and then what the benefits are of it and what he's seeing with some people. So welcome to our podcast.
Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
So you opened in June. You told me that you started building out.
July. Guy doesn't listen.
July.
It's July, right?
July
started in
16th.
Yeah,
July
he doesn't
16th.
listen already.
And you started building it out in May.
Correct.
So you had a dream for this beforehand then, I guess.
Yeah. So it's a franchise. So we actually signed to do it last September of 21. And you got to go through the paperwork, and there's a whole process, and they kind of lay it out for you, the playbook. The build out for the location actually started in May. So it takes about 8 to 10 weeks to build out the studio.
And what's the process for that? Because I know a lot of people like the idea of having their own business, or maybe having a franchise who can help them with some of the branding, but I wouldn't even know what the process is to start.
Mm-hmm.
For signing with the franchise?
Yeah.
You pretty much go through a discovery day.
They find you. Did you reach out to them?
Well,
or they
we reached out to them, and it was a mutual friend. So I'll kind of circle back around and start from the beginning. We got into thought about doing this here in Columbia. Is actually my wife's ex-boss. He got out of the pharmaceutical business, and he owns the one in Alpharetta, Georgia, in Woodstock. He reached out to my wife pre-COVID and said, hey, I know John's always wanted to do something on his own business. You should come down and check this out. It's kind of right up his alley, dealing with athletes, helping people, just making people smile. And it's all health conscious. So we went down there, pre-COVID, looked at it, did all the due diligence, talked to the CEO. She's got to vet you, make sure that you're kind of the right fit.
Yeah. What kind of questions was she asking you?
How old are your kids? Where do they go to school? They kind of, run a credit check.
What's your third favorite color?
Correct. Customer service. They kind of, you kind of role play a little bit with them.
What kind of role playing?
Well, I can't get in that much details.
Quite the interview process.
That's right. But yeah, they really just kind of see who you are. Your personality, if you're going to, welcome guests in, and asked about my background, my wife's background. Just did a little due diligence on their side, because I've spoke to numerous folks that they have sent that they have vetted, and I've talked to them about, my experience in the first 6 months, and just shared some information with them. And then I followed back up with corporate and said, hey, where did Joe Blow, did he ever open up in Frisco, Texas, or wherever? Well, John, we decided to go a different direction. So I didn't ask any more details. So there is a strenuous process for that.
Yeah. And you have to come to the table with some money probably too.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes,
so there's a vetting process
right.
that not just anyone can walk in and
That's
say,
right.
yeah, I want to start this.
You got to have the finances behind you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we were going to do it pre-COVID, and I'm very, very conservative. So we kind of thought about it, slept on it. I told my wife, I said, let's sleep on this for about 48 hours. And within those 48 hours, the whole country shut down. Right. So I was like, man, the man upstairs was sending me a lesson or a note. This isn't the right time.
Wow.
So we obviously didn't do it during COVID, and thankful we didn't. And post-COVID, here we are.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we got into it.
That's awesome. So you mentioned your background. What was you and your wife's background before you guys purchased the franchise and started doing this?
So my wife's she's in the pharmaceutical business, and she still is. She works for Takeda Pharmaceuticals, been with them for 21 years. she's kept her job. I was in the waste industry for 21 years, and just kind of decided to do our own thing. So she still got her corporate job, and this is kind of my baby to grow.
Nice. Waste management, like that big golf tournament out in Arizona.
Correct. Yeah.
Really? Did you ever go to that?
No, I never got an opportunity to go to that, but yeah, I worked for them for about 13 years.
That's a big. I heard awesome things about that company.
It's $13 billion a year. It's a monster.
Jeez.
Wow. It's huge. It's
Yeah.
They own the landfill out
Right
on
here.
Spears Creek Church Road. Probably 80% of the waste gets buried there from the state of South Carolina.
It gets shipped all the way here.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
I always wondered about that. I drive past that not too long ago and thought, like, that's a lot of. I mean, that's a big mountain.
Yeah, I don't know what. When I was over there, it was taking in about 2,500 to 3,000 tons a day.
Jeez.
That's a lot. We create a lot of garbage.
Yeah. Wow. So I guess take us through the treatment, like a day in the life of person comes in, wants to get treated. What does that first visit look like, and kind of what we went through last week?
First visits, they usually walk in the door and we greet them. And first thing we ask them is, how'd you hear about us?
Mm-hmm.
And kind of get their expectation of what they're looking for. And we get a variety of answers back. I don't know. I was just walking by and it said Icebox, and I wanted to walk in and, and
buy some groceries.
That's right. So we just take them through the whole studio. We show them the box. We tell them that they're in there for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
A lot of them, why would anybody want to do that? Why would they want to get halfway naked and get in a freezer and get cold?
Right.
And we tell them all the benefits of it, of inflammation. It flushes inflammation out, it releases endorphins. Athletes do it for recovery, pain management. We go through the whole gamut of the benefits of it. Big thing is also you get in the box for 3 minutes, it burns 500 to 800 calories. So that usually gets somebody's interest right there.
Right.
So, but then we walk them through the leg compressions and talk to them about that, share with them our beauty services, and they usually just sitting there with their eyes wide open. And the next thing we do is say, hey, you want to try it? So we kind of run them through them, run through it, and they're usually smiling when they leave.
Yeah.
So
it was a cool experience. And I like the digital paperwork was nice. That made the process really easy, just kind of checking the boxes, making sure. What do you know off the top of your head, people that are listening that wouldn't qualify or would be at a risk to do this type of therapy?
Pacemaker.
Okay.
Yeah. And if there's ever any, we have a couple guests that say, hey, can I do this because I've got this condition?
Right.
We always just say, listen, we're not a licensed professional.
Sure.
Get clearance from your doctor. It's probably been 0.5%.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody qualifies for it.
Right.
Can do it.
And I'm from Canada, where -40 is not that uncommon.
Right.
And everybody there walks around. So it's
right. Yeah.
I can't see being that cold that dangerous for someone. Only really probably good for them.
Right.
And I think are they called ice baths, or what's the name for the new?
Yeah. Or the plunge, like polar plunge.
Polar plunge. Yeah. People are paying thousands of dollars to get those polar plunges in their house now. And this is kind of the same.
Or spending
it's
money
same
on
principle.
ice. Yeah. Like just buying ice every day
yeah.
to dump it in your tub. Well, so that being said, like you handed me the, almost like at a ski range where you have a beginner green, you have a blue, you have a black diamond, and then double black diamond. There were different temperatures on that. What were the temperatures of each of those?
I don't think I got that. Did I?
Oh, you didn't?
I don't think I got
Yes.
that.
That was VIP.
Oh yeah, that's VIP.
Yeah. You weren't. You didn't get that.
So the manual states that it just is real easy. It's green is -200, 220, 240, 260
Fahrenheit.
Correct.
Yep.
Right.
Wow.
So
I didn't realize it was that cold. Actually,
It was insane.
and you're in there for 3
And that's
months.
green.
Right.
that's green.
And it's compound therapy. So
Yeah.
we've got folks that do double black. We've got females that do double black. There was just
Wow.
one of our regulars in there a little
I
while
saw that.
ago,
I was
and
there.
she jumps in there, and she's built her way up though. She's in
Yeah.
there 4 or 5 days a week.
Yep.
So it's definitely a compound therapy.
Yeah. And what's the double black? What's the temperature of that?
260.
minus 260.
Mhm.
That's insane. Yeah, and so when we were in there, the thing that I found was like it was almost like you have to really think about your breathing and just controlling your breathing because it's shocking. But the nice part that you mentioned to me is opposed to like getting in your tub and doing ice, you're not wet, so you could tolerate a much colder temperature as long as you could just make sure you're like, or at least for me, it was maybe I just come out of shape, but I'm like sitting there thinking like, am I gonna stop breathing? I'm huffing and puffing.
Right.
But it was nice because the way you guys have it, you're in it literally is like a 2 foot by 3 foot phone booth kind of freezer, right. And then there's a light that counts its way up or lights its way up to the top. So it was nice because we could see how much time was in there and then know that, all right, I just got to tolerate this for a little bit longer and just continue to think about breathing.
Right.
But that being said, with the like not getting wet side of it, how long could somebody go in there? Like why the 3 minutes was
so that's a great question. Everybody asks that.
Yeah.
So if I'm standing there and I put you in the box and you go in there for 3 minutes, obviously the lights on the side shows the person, the guest, where they are in their session. For some reason that I forget about you, that you're in the box, but we always have somebody staying there. And you forget to come out for some reason. You go unconscious or something.
Yeah.
The machine, there's a safety device. The machine will shut off in 5 minutes. That's why when you got out, whoever was there had to say chamber is safe. It will completely shut down. So it will not allow somebody to freeze to death in there.
Gotcha.
It just, the system shuts down. So it's a safety device.
That's what I was wondering because, yeah, if somebody does fall, I mean, it's not like you guys have cameras in there you could see.
Do not. We do not.
But yeah, I was wondering if somebody did stop breathing. That's good to know that there's some mechanisms there to prevent that.
Yep.
And when you get in there, you gave us wireless headphones, and then you say, what kind of music do you want to listen to?
Right.
And I chose Justin Bieber, obviously. But I'm curious what the most common songs are that you hear over and over.
Man, that's I don't know. I haven't been keeping track of that. It's all over the map. You know, the females are usually the Christmas version of Mariah Carey or something. Mm-hmm. The athletes are more of the hip hop. You know, we've got a employee in there, Boozer. He's almost like our DJ.
Yeah. So
when a guest says, "Hey, just put me on something I'm like," I'm like, "Boozer, come here. I'm not a good person for this." And he's probably batting 1,000. So
wow.
It just varies.
Yeah. That'd be funny to do like a top 10 thing at the
that's a great idea. We might do that.
And so I was thinking about this too when I was there. You mentioned it's like you called it freeze and squeeze.
Freeze and squeeze.
So it was you do the cold and then you go out and do the compression stuff. Any thought on like does it matter what order you go in? Is there any? Okay.
There's not any order. I was reading this morning about it too, and a lot of folks, you know, they jump in the box. Freezer is what we, you know, obviously call it for recovery. Now athletes are starting to do it before they go work out. They're starting to come and do the cryo because it gets their blood flowing. They feel more flexible and they feel more calm when whatever they're doing. If they're running 10 miles or lifting weights or playing a basketball game, everybody's starting to do it beforehand, especially runners.
Yeah. Yeah, I could say, I mean, you do feel invigorated like right afterwards that your body is going through that shock.
It's those endorphins that are releasing. You feel that boost of energy.
Yep.
So.
And who would you say your target market or target demographic? Like what person? I know I can see the athlete side of it. Is there anybody else that you guys have in mind that would be like, yep, this is who we're?
It's what's so great about this business is everybody.
Yeah,
everybody's a candidate. I mean, we've got guests that are, you know, elderly, you know, 60 years old and older, and they have arthritis in their knees or their ankles, and you know, they've came in here and we've done the spot treatment, or they've jumped in the box and they just come back and they say, "John, I've never slept so good." You know, it helps the inflammation. Athletes are obviously huge candidates for us. Tennis players. I mean, it's a wide variety. I mean, you can get in the box from age 12 to whenever.
Okay, so that
You
was
know,
my
so-
next question about kids.
Right.
12 and up.
You just have to have an, adult sign for you.
Yeah.
But that's what's so great about it. There's not just one demographic. It can help everyone.
Yeah.
So 60 years old is elderly.
Ah.
Because when I heard you say elderly, like 60 years old, it made me think, is that elderly now?
Probably
you're-
not, because
I
I'm
don't
getting,
know.
I'm
Is it
getting
creeping
closer
up?
to it. I know that.
That's what I think. The older I get, the older I want elderly to be.
Yeah.
Your oldest person. What do you think the oldest person who has been?
My
in there?
father's been in there, and he's 78.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
My father-in-law, he's 77. He's been in there. My mom's been in there. I'd probably say over 80 has been in there.
That's. And then I'm sure there's some people too who, when they go in there, they get in there for a minute and they're like, "This is too cold."
You know, believe it or not, when we first opened in July, when folks were coming in during our grand opening, I think we probably had 2.
Back out.
Yeah,
Like,
and
once they were in there,
and they came out with, like, they've been in there 2.5 minutes and they just didn't understand the lights. And we've had some folks say, "Hey, 2 minutes in or halfway in, I just put my robe back on because I was getting a little bit cold."
Yeah.
We hadn't had, knock on wood, anybody has just bust out of there saying, "God, I did not like that at all," and blah blah.
right.
I just,
Right.
why'd you make me do that?
Yeah.
We have not had one person knock on wood. So.
Yeah. Nice, because I was thinking you could create a wall of shame for that person.
That's what I was thinking too. We have a wall of shame where you think,
Yeah, like you didn't make it, and you get a Polaroid. So when people show up, you don't have to wear anything special because you guys provide robes. You had socks, slippers, gloves, a hat. Now the mask. I was wondering about the mask. Is the mask just so like when you're breathing, it helps you breathe better? Like meaning keeping the temperature in?
Yeah, we recommend it the first time. So first time folks in there, we just give them a mask and they can pull it down on their chin if they don't really want it. But we
Yep.
just like them to have it in case, they need it in the middle of the
Yeah.
sation. I did it the first time. I never use it.
Right, me
Um,
neither. Yeah, and but when I thought about it, I was like, maybe that would have helped me breathe because it would have kept me a little bit warmer.
I mean, it'll keep your nose a little bit warmer
Yeah.
and your lips, but I don't.
Yeah, that's where I felt I felt my nostril hairs
Right.
freezing first.
Well, I do it now. I usually inhale through my nose and blow it out my mouth when I'm in there. You
Right.
try to get that cold feeling through there, but if you don't breathe through your nose, you won't. You
Yep.
won't get it.
And how often are you doing it right now?
I do it every day
Okay.
that I'm in there.
Yeah.
And back to the compound therapy, I mean, if we go out of town and I don't do it for 3 or 4 days and I come back, I can tell. I mean, it's kind of like exercising almost. If you're running 3 miles every day and then you take a week off and you go back and run, you can kind of tell that you fell out of shape or
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So-
so then you were talking about earlier too. You said before we started, you said there's 16 of them
Mhm.
right now.
Correct.
Icebox,
In
and the
the
name is
country.
Icebox Cryotherapy in the country.
Correct.
You're the only one in Columbia. The next closest one is Charlotte. It sounds like
Yeah, we're the only one in South Carolina.
in South Carolina. Oh wow,
Correct.
Nice.
So what does that look like? Is there a dream to do more of them? Is that kind of in the plan?
So yeah, the next stop would be Greenville, Charleston's an earmarked area, Savannah's an earmarked area. So that's kind of in the state. Believe it or not, I was looking into the Myrtle Beach area, but corporate does their market studies as well.
Yeah.
and probably just too tourist, but it seems like it'd do really well in the summer.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah, I imagine the summer. Do you think it'll be tougher in the winter, or have you noticed any changes since?
it's talking about the benefits, that's the first thing people say, "Oh, John, I don't want to do it because it's November or December
yeah.
and it's 30 degrees outside." Believe it or not, it helps your immune system.
Right.
With flu season and all that, if you continue to do it.
Yeah.
But
can see that.
our regulars have, it don't matter if it's raining, sunny
Yeah.
outside, cold, they're in there.
And what also is nice is that the speed at which you can get in and out of there.
Oh.
It's literally like you show up now with your regulars. I guess do they sign in, swipe in, just wave?
So you can schedule online through the MindBody app, or you do walk-ins. The folks that we know that are regulars, we just usually hold up 1, 2, or 3 on our hand, and that means what changing room they go to change, and then they just meet us at the box.
Nice.
They're in and out 12 minutes of they're just doing cryo,
Yeah.
and 9 of those 12 they're changing clothes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's kind of quick in and out. It's
Yeah.
a lot easier than an ice bath.
And it's
100%.
membership based. Then is it like
You can
almost
pay
like a gym membership, or you get 8 times a month, or
right.
6
You
times
can. It's membership based. You're going to come out a heck of a lot cheaper if you do the membership, but you can pay per session if you want. But 99% of our folks are members.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about some of the esthetician stuff. Is that mainly utilizing still cold temperatures?
Correct.
Is that kind of what makes them unique versus, say, going to Urban Nirvana or another spa?
That's right. So they use the same machine
Brett.
as for the localized or spot treatment.
Gotcha.
So they use the elephant and they do a basket weaving motion on your face, and it's the cold nitrogen.
Really?
So everything that we do is obviously non-invasive,
Yeah.
and it's cold therapy.
Yeah, and so you can use that on your, like if you have tennis elbow or a tendonitis or something like that, then you can go in
Absolutely.
there and instead of you can get into the box, but you can also go to is she an esthetician? Is that what,
Yes.
or that's what she can do specific things like that
Yeah,
on the
anywhere
area.
on your body, your
Yeah.
elbow, your back, knees, ankles, neck. Lord, we had somebody come in the other day and said, my neck's killing me.
Yeah.
I slept on my neck wrong. And she's came in the last 2 days and she's like, oh, I can move my neck
Just
again.
work
So
directly
it's-
on it. Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah. I bet speed. I mean, the speed of which you feel better is vast.
Right.
Well, and then on the entrepreneur side, then I'm curious about a few lessons that you've learned in your first 6 to 8 months of being an entrepreneur.
Expenses.
Mhm.
So, at first, the good thing about being up under a franchise, they've got a playbook and they tell you what you have to purchase, and you don't have to spend energy on how you're going to set your studio up because they have everything, where the chairs go, the pictures are hung and all that. So that's, you don't have to spend any energy there. Big thing is, once you start tracking expenses, my labor was out of hand the first couple months because
Right.
I didn't know any better. You got to figure out what your traffic flow is, and, when you need people. And the biggest thing's me walking in and I've got 3 people on the clock and
Right.
they're not doing anything. They're looking at Facebook. I'm like,
Right.
I need to start dialing into this. So that was probably one of the big things is the expenses. I mean,
Right.
they can, the franchisee or franchisor can explain to you and tell you, but until you kind of get into the
Yeah.
war zone, you got to figure it out yourself.
Yes. Right.
So we've got that dialed in pretty much to last. This will be our 6th month. So we've got that, and there's always tweaks to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that nobody really talks about. At least in chiropractic school, we didn't really know what to expect with staff either. That was the
Right.
hardest part. And nobody tells you that everybody wants more money.
Right.
Everybody wants more money, more hours,
Oh,
more
yeah.
responsibility, but you have to, manage that, and you have to figure out what you can do. I think most business owners would love to pay their staff as much as possible, but
Oh, yeah.
you just can't do that unless you have the money coming in.
That's right.
Yeah. Does corporate help you with social media, or is that your responsibility, you guys locally?
They do. They put their corporate ads out, like the promos and things like that. But we've also got a hand in it too. We're big on, like, when you folks came through, your staff came through, taking pictures and
Yeah.
just kind of relating it back to the studio and thanking, businesses that came in or members. I mean, I think that just feels a little bit more better. And then you can tag your friends and it kind of just helps you advertise.
Exposure and all that
Yeah.
good stuff.
Are you a big Facebook guy, Twitter guy?
I'm not a social media guy at all. And luckily I've got a good staff that is, are really, really good at it, because I have no clue. Sometimes I just say, post this and tag everybody. That's all I know. That's about as deep as it
I
goes.
say
For
that,
me.
I say stuff like that too.
With the franchise, are there territory rights? Like, would you have, if there is another one that opens up in South Carolina, do they talk to you first to see if?
Yes, I've got a good relationship with the CEO, and she called me about 2 months after we opened and said, "Man, you're doing so well. You ready to do another one?" I was like, "Man, it's only been 60 days and I don't even know what I'm doing." Yeah, heck yeah, I want to do it. But she's been very, very good to me, and she just said, "Hey, I think you're a big candidate to have multiple stores."
Yeah.
And definitely you would be approved. And the way we're going to kind of set this up is if I have somebody that comes into South Carolina and wants to do an Icebox in Greenville or, somewhere else, I'm going to give you first right of refusal.
Nice.
And I said, that's about all I can ask. So, and I think we're getting close. I definitely want to do another one.
Yeah.
That's got to make sure it's the right timing.
Sure.
Make sure I know what I'm getting into again and, just take baby steps with it.
Yeah. Do you have anything that from the waste management side of things that have carried over that you've found just from your experience there that's helped you in the business on the business side of it now?
Expenses. We had to run when I was a hauling district manager. We ran hauling companies. I actually ran the one here. We ran about 40 trucks a day, and it was just line items. You keep track of fuel. Maintenance, tires, labor.
Yeah.
So some of those things definitely helped me. And the way when the revenue went up, you obviously had to spend a little bit more labor to get the revenue. And when revenue decreased, they were expecting you to flex down as well with your labor. And it's the same way here. August, we had a huge month. September wasn't so much. So obviously you should have less paid hours because you didn't need that labor. And it took me a little while to figure that out.
Yeah.
And actually, when you're running your own business, it's easy when you're working for a corporation to say, hey, I don't need you tomorrow. But when you got a staff of 7, you don't want to really upset the apple cart too much. And it's a delicate conversation, and you got to get them to buy in and understand. So,
Cool. And then your health. So I'm curious too about your health journey then, kind of changing topics on that. But so you're doing the Icebox stuff every day, and we met you through the chiropractic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious about what your chiropractic story is.
So how I got hooked up with Dr. Caroline. So Drew, who owns
Stevens?
Base Camp.
Drew
yeah.
Mobley,
Yeah.
Yes. So he said, John, I went over to see Dr. Caroline. He had a kink in his neck or his back or whatever. And he said, I need to hook you up with her. I think this would be, your services is compatible to theirs and could definitely help some of their parents or patients. So he shot me her cell number, and it kind of just went from there. And that's why I'm sitting at the table. So I came in, and I've seen her Tuesdays and Fridays. And again, I haven't felt this good in a long time with doing cryotherapy and coming to you guys.
Yeah.
I used to have back pains. I went to several doctors to, ask them, hey, why do I have this back pain?
Right.
Or do I need surgery, this and that? And all the doctors said, you're running too much. I run probably 5 days a week. Oh. You're running too much. You're beating your back up. I'm like, well, I'm only 47 years old. I ain't gonna stop running.
Right.
I got to sweat the alcohol out from the weekends. Gotta do something. Got to do something to feel better. So, but yeah, I haven't felt better since we've kind of done both of them for a long time.
And were you skeptical about it at first, or you just?
I've been to a couple chiropractors, but I haven't been consistent like I have and committed like I have this time. Yeah. They've adjusted me, and then I'd go back 3 months later and they adjust me again. When I walked out, I felt great, but it's the same thing that, kind of cryotherapy. I mean, it's a practice. You got to stay with it. And if you do stay with it and you stay the course, then you feel 10 times better.
Love it.
I'm a huge believer in it.
Cool. Did you grow up here? You from
Chapin?
Chapin.
So, yeah, graduated in 1993.
Wow. And you're same with your wife?
She's from the big town of Holly Hill. I don't know if y'all know where that is. No. I'm scared to tell you. But,
I've never heard of it.
It's basically where 26 and 95 intersect.
Yeah.
It's a little
town. Really? How'd you guys meet?
In college. So we both went to South Carolina.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So, we're always interested in that story. Did you have like a line, or
what was your pickup line?
You winked at her, or you said something?
Actually, it was a blind date.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then I couldn't get rid of her. We're still together. So. And she might have a different story, but
that's how you remember it.
Wait, and so you had no idea what you looked like before the date?
No.
This is before social media.
There's no such thing as a blind date anymore.
That's true.
Yeah.
If I ever had to go out on the open market and all this online and doing profile stuff, I'd be. I'm the old school where you just go to a bar and you start talking,
What? And what was the move when you guys first met? Like, did you shake her hand,
Oh,
or
did you hug her? I didn't know what to do with that.
So we got set up and we went to it was a fraternity sorority party, and we had mutual friends, and I just went and picked her up, and she was like, "Hey, how are you?" And got in the car, and it's supposed to be a fun party. It's kind of, I don't remember. It felt awkward probably at first. And then you kind of get into a big social gathering and have a couple cocktails.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden
Play some drinking games.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Nice.
Love it.
And the open market is hilarious to me. Nowadays, the open market is crazy.
It's wild. And then, so you've been here in Columbia. What's some of the things that kept you in Columbia, or what do you like about Columbia?
I was born in big town of Marion, South Carolina. So that's down near the beach, right outside of Florence. I hadn't really lived anywhere else. Yeah. So when we graduated in '98, I actually moved to Charleston. My wife, she stayed here and went to, she got her MBA from South Carolina as well. And I was living with her brother in Charleston. And then once she graduated, we lived down there for 2 years and came back to Columbia. And we've just been here ever since. We don't know any better, I guess.
Nice.
And what do you guys do for fun?
Watch the Gamecocks whenever they're good. Run around with our kids, watch their sporting events. They keep us busy. My daughter's 12. She rides horses, plays basketball, and swims. And then my son, he's a big baseball player and plays football. So it's all summer long for us.
Yeah.
That's kind of our, I guess, enjoyment. And then we try to break away and go on a family vacation once or twice a year, but it's pretty much wide open.
Yep.
12 months a year.
So I have 2 daughters and Tom has 2 sons, and they're not 10 yet, but they're coming on the teenage years. You have any tidbits for us?
Just be patient.
Yep.
Be patient. I kind of take the background approach. I let my wife manage everything, so she's better at it than me. I'll fly off the handle in a minute. And, she's more calm and understands. And I'm like, you did what? And it's never their fault. I mean,
no, they always have somebody to blame.
That's right.
That's good stuff.
How do people find you? And what are the hours that you guys are open to?
So we're open Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Okay.
And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we shut down a little bit early. We're open from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Nice. Okay.
But yeah, you can Google Icebox Columbia. It'll take you right to a website. You can book online right there if you want, or you can call the studio at 803-746-6185.
Perfect.
We'll get you taken care of.
And we'll put all the links in there too. Perfect. Well, we appreciate you being on. Thanks for taking the time.
Sir. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Here
We're here for the health of it.
for the health of it.